Welcome to Delta Lodge Outdoors. I am your host, Julius. This is a podcast to not only entertain, but to occasionally teach new things. I may be the only one learning, but at least we're going to have some fun trying to do it along the way. Thank y'all. Hey everybody, welcome to Delta Lodge Outdoors. Today's episode, I think, is just going to be about you want to kill big bucks. You may put them on the tailgate or in the freezer in fall, but you kill them in spring. And with that, we're going to talk about if you're not doing the work ahead of time, the scouting, the prep work, the knowing the what the deer are doing, you're losing your ability to get on that big buck and kill him. I understand that the fall patterns can be a little different than that spring-summer pattern that you first get them on. But the first few weeks of season, he hasn't made that swap yet. So with that, the first couple weeks of season, you're still going to have him in that spring pattern. So if you've done your due diligence and your homework, you're going to have a real good shot at putting him on the tailgate early in season. Excuse me. But it also pans out that if you do your homework, you're going to have some ideas of where he's going. You can, if you want to be a consistent deer killer and get to where you're killing quality deer, you have to do your homework ahead of time. Everybody can go out there and get lucky. I've done it. I think I've gotten lucky way more than I've actually done the right work. So with that, it's been a big change for me to get out of that mindset, because like I grew up as a public land hunter where, you know, pretty much as brown it was down. As long as it was legal, it was great. And getting out of that style in the last few years has been a major change for me, and letting probably the last 10 years I've let a lot of deer walk because I wanted to kill a better quality deer. This year I killed low 130s, 10 point. It's my bigged deer to date. I have like one or two pictures. I don't have the rack because I had the rack tied in a tree, and went on. Had to go out of town for a couple of days. My wife was out of town, so she had to go out of town, so she boarded our dogs. And when I got back, I had no deer head. So another animal somehow got it out of the tree and drug it off, and it was tied in the tree. So I'm pretty impressed with that. So with that said, but I had done the homework to know, and I should have. That deer wasn't on my radar. I knew I had some 130s and better. I actually shot that deer, never seeing his head, so I actually thought I was shooting a big body doe at dusk dark, 150, 200 yards during rifle season. But he was in the area that my bucks had been traveling and everything, and I had set up. I had done the homework. I had scouted. I knew that they were traveling this area that would come down to a pinch point, and it was big flat opening, but it was a narrow spot there to go into. It was the narrow spot between two kind of thickets, where it opened up, and that's what he was traveling. So when he come, that's what I had set up to do, and I stayed far off of it because the wind was a little shifty and everything else. So I saddle hunted it and stayed way off. I had deer I had does, small does, and year and a half to 2.5-year-old does all year within bow range. I had some bigger body deer skirt in that area I'm talking about, so I set up that evening with my rifle. And what I thought was the last day of rifle season was actually the middle of rifle season, so always read your pamphlet. I was still legal, but I thought it was the last day. I still had another week afterwards. But do your homework. Had I not known that they were going to travel through there and everything else, and this goes to not only killing big buck, I knew the does were traveling that area too. I knew I had some smaller does coming up that I was filming and messing with to possibly bow hunt, possibly kill one on camera with my bow, and filmed them a bunch, just never did. Nothing was what I wanted. But deep down I knew I was going to kill one in that area because I had done my scouting. Like I said, all my spring intel showed where they were going. Well, this is on private, so it's not really pressured, so they didn't really change. Yeah, they'll if you can get them patterned and it's not a heavy pressured area, they're going to stay really close to it. That's the reason I say on public land, spring scouting is crucial due to the fact that those first few weeks of season, especially if it opens during the middle of the week, and you can take off where you can go make a hunt the first 2-3 days of season, your opportunity to kill a good buck is astronomically higher than it is after everybody's been out there. So you go out there, excuse me, you find your pinch points, you find your food, you find your travel corridors, and then you break those down, because there's always, like, I've done a lot of fishing, and what the big pros will tell you, there's always a pattern within a pattern. So with that, like, the way I equate it to fishing is, like, you catch one fish, okay, cool. You catch two fish, you might be on something. Third, you've got a pattern. But now within that, they're on cypress stumps. Now, you caught three, they're on that. Okay, now let's look deeper into that. Were they on the wind, the side getting the wind, the side not getting the wind, the side with the sun, not with the sun? Was it, like sun side but with no wind? Like, you pick up on all those little things. And that translates over into deer hunting. If you got a travel corridor and you're looking, and it's a heavy travel corridor, and it comes down, it's a heavy travel trail, and it comes into a hub point, where 3 or 4 trails are meeting. Obviously, you want to set up where you can see the especially that point, due to the fact that that's where they're going to come in. That's a hub point. It goes from, it's like Grand Central Station. So you set up on that. Then from that, you look and see. Most of the times, early season, your bucks, when there's no pressure, they will be on those or really close. Once the pressure starts, they're going to skirt those areas. So you figure out which trail on the wind, because he's going to travel according to the wind, and he's going to change his travel patterns on that. So his travel patterns not only can change daily, they could change in the middle of the day. So you have to figure out, okay, the wind on this, the trail sets up where he's skirting this edge, because he's going to try to stay where he can see out of the thick, but it's hard for you to see in it. So you have to look for those things. And I know I might be broad and, like, given that 30,000 viewpoint. Excuse me. I know what I look for, and it's hard for me to explain to people, like, but it's like you're looking for things that obviously he's going to be on a food or water if it's hot. If it's in a drought, you can set up on water and find deer. You can find any animal you want if you set up on water. Just its waiting game. Just like the travel corridors. Hunting public land, you're looking for like I said, if you can find those hubs. One of the main areas that we hunt, where I took my buddies earlier this year, this past deer season, there's a travel corridor that comes there, like where I set one of them up. It's like 4 or 5 trails into one hub. And you can set up on it. You're going to see deer all day. I've sat in that stand and saw 11 head of does in one day and several bucks. Like, it's just they're comfortable traveling in it, and they're coming out of a thick. They work down out of a real thick area down these trails to go across a little trail, open trail where there's a pinch point in it. It's close together to shoot out into the other thicker area. But it's like the does work the main trail coming in. There's 2 of them. They'll work those. It really doesn't matter. They work those all the time. The bucks switch on what trail they're going to come in based off of the wind. So you need to hunt it correctly for the wind for what you're looking for. If you just want to go kill a deer, wind's important, but with does, younger does, is not as important. Once the doe gets older, she's way more weary. But like, if you're going to kill big bucks, the wind is a major game. So I'm not going to get into wind or scent control. I use a cover scent, but it's a non-traditional style, and I make my own cover scents. So mine's different than that. And I also hunt the wind, even though I use cover scents. So I'm not going to get into that debate, because I've had John Eberhardt, I've had Dan Infault on, and I've laughed. Those 2 guys, totally opposite ends of the spectrum on what they do for wind or scent control, but they're both deer killers. They are deer slayers. So, I mean, I can't argue what works for them. They have confidence in that. Whatever you have confidence in, use it. Work it. If you're not confident in what you're doing, then that lowers your ability to be able to kill a good deer. Because if you're second guessing every step you make, your head's not in it. You're going to make mistakes. The deer are going to beat you at the game. So it's prep work all year for those 1 to 3 days, basically, is the time frame. Yeah, you can kill them in rut. Rut's just a waiting game. If you're set up on does, you're going to see a buck if you got the does constantly moving. Rut, anybody can kill a big deer during rut. And I've heard that from some really good deer killers. And it really didn't make sense for several years. Then I get to watching it. I mean, buck loses his mind in rut. Think about it as a man. We do stupid shit, for that, just like they do. So I get it now that I've sat here and done, 3 years in the podcast and hearing that. I'm like, oh, shit. Like, yeah, they're right. Anybody can kill one during rut because he's got one focus on his mind and his inhibitions are lax, and he's going to just caution to the wind, literally. So your preseason scout work and everything during spring, during summer, understanding what that deer is doing is what will kill him. So you have to know your food source, know your travel corridors, put boots on the ground, do the not just e-scouting, do the boots on the ground scouting, so that you understand what that deer is doing. And once you figure it out, he's not worried about you spring and summer. He knows. He's been through a couple seasons. He knows what's up. Think about it. You see deer all the time during non-season. Everybody's like, oh, the deer know what the season is. They do. They notice the influx in new smells, vehicles, side-by-sides, four-wheelers, ATVs, UTVs. They notice influx. Like, take public land. Most of the time, you don't see a game warden 8-9 months of the fucking year that deer season hit. They're there, so they know what's going on. They start hearing all the beating and banging. So within 2 or 3 days of that opening day, patterns change. And if you hunt a place that's heavily scouted and like heavily hunted, a lot of guys will show up a day or two the day before season and start scouting. Well, the deer within 48 hours of that influx of people, the pattern usually changes. So if you're gonna hunt public and have a chance of killing a good buck, get away from the pressure, but also locate areas, like hunt. And if you can hunt when season first opens, that's when you do it. That first 2 to 3 days is great. Then you wait about the third, fourth week, it'll die down. Everybody tries to get off and hunt that first little bit. So if you get one that's not pressured a lot, then you're good, because there's not going to be a shit ton of people there that first few days. But you get one that gets hunted heavy those first few days, wait 2-3 weeks. The deer get used to it. They get back into a more regular routine. Because when they first realize, oh shit, it's people everywhere in this deer season, their behavior pattern becomes erratic for a few days, a week. So there's that time frame of, okay, I'm early and I know what he's doing. I got this 2 to 3, this 48-hour window, 72-hour window to kill him. Then it's going to change. His pattern will for a little while to a different pattern, and that's the pattern that he holds all winter. Because he knows it's deer season and he's avoiding people. And that's how a deer lives to get big. That's heavily pressured deer. When you're on private land or like city deer, they're so used to people that they don't care. Public land, people can say they're used to people. They're used to the patterns of people. A deer will pattern you. He has the pattern of what these people are doing in the time frame. So then everybody's like, oh, deer know when deer season is. You're damn right they do. You give it to them, because you don't. And a lot of people on private land, feeders stay empty till a week before season. Then they start putting them out. Then the deer know what's going on. Or, oh, I've been seeing, they got a pet camera over a food plot and an old feeder. Oh, there's deer on it all the time. Oh, my deer went nocturnal. It's because you went in there and they know seasons change, because you wasn't constantly in there. And if you're not going to be constantly in there, or you're going to change something, you can't change something and not expect them to pick up on it. They're not dumb animals. They pick up on their surroundings. That's how they live. They're an animal of prey. So predators are after them all the time. So they have to know what's going on. So all that goes back to saying, if you want to kill big deer, do your homework. Do your work. hunt when the specifics are there for it, because your chances drastically to reduce every time you make a hunt back in that area. He patterns you. He knows what you're doing. I mean, I've got pictures. If I can find them, it's freaking hilarious. I'll try and if I can find them. Hunting club we were in years back. My dad literally at like 9-10 in the morning got off of a stand, walked there. He had a trough feeder. I think he topped it back off, checked it, something. I don't remember exactly what he did. That was at 9:10. He's on camera. 9:20, 10 minutes literally after he's on camera, there's 3 does eating out of that trough. He had hunted since before daylight. Never saw a deer. Literally. Gets out of it. And he's I think he had a box stand there. Gets out of it. They knew he was there. They waited him out. You know? I know a lot of guys that, like, they'll go fill their feeders on four-wheelers all the time and leave. And the deer are right there after the fact. So what they'll do is have their buddy take them back there and drop them off, then leave on the four-wheeler. The deer hear the four-wheeler leave. Okay, cool. I'm going to go get some food. And the guy was waiting on them. It's do your homework. Know what your deer are doing. Know the pattern they are on. And know that you can shift that pattern in a negative way. So I think that kind of wraps this one up. Super pumped for what we got going on this year. This is our 3rd episode of the regular podcast. I have the 5th. Today was the first day, January 2nd. I'm actually recording this one. The 2nd came out. It'll come out like the 21st. But January 2nd, Delaware drop. That was our first states edition. And we're doing the states and everything in the order of when they join the union. We have, like I said, today, January 2nd episode was Delaware. January the 9th will be Pennsylvania. The 16th or something like that. Yeah, the 16th is New Jersey. The 23rd is Georgia. I actually need to do the research and get Connecticut and Massachusetts out. That way I'll have the 30th and the 6th done. The next fun one looks like it'll be around February 20th, South Carolina. Because, like, Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Georgia. Georgia is probably the funnest of those 4. You break down the next 4, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maryland, South Carolina. South Carolina will be the best, I think. Then the 3rd group of 4 is New Hampshire, Virginia, New York, North Carolina. So it'll probably be North Carolina. Then we get into the 4th group, Rhode Island, Vermont, Kentucky, Tennessee. 2 good ones there. The 5th group is Ohio, Louisiana, Indiana, and Mississippi. All good ones. I mean, it starts getting interesting after the 16th state when it comes to deer hunting. So that's what we got. I hope y'all enjoy them. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Reach out to us. We're always looking for guests. Would love to have anybody on. You don't have to have any experience in podcasting. You just get on and, like, you know, talk hunting, talk fishing, talk outdoors. If you got a business that's involved in any of that, get with us. We're always looking for guests and people to work with. Julius Craig, Delta Lodge Outdoors.
From the woods to the water, from hunting to fishing, in the delta to the mountains, all about the outdoors. With a bow, fishing pole, or a gun, always having some fun. In the delta to the mountains, all about the outdoors. When the hook is set, we know it's gonna be the best one yet. It's